The annual Sullivan family reunion was always a showcase of success, wealth, and achievement. This year I wasn't planning to attend until I saw who else would be there. Global Tech Industries, my family's biggest potential client, had accepted their invitation. They just didn't know I was there. I adjusted my simple black blazer, bought from a small boutique in Paris that none of my status-obsessed relatives would recognize. My cousin Madeline's text had been relentless all week. "Are you actually coming this year, Alexandra? After what happened last time? Don't embarrass us again. Wear something decent. The Wilsons from Global Tech will be there. Try not to mention your consulting work." If only they knew that Amanda Wilson, Global Tech CFO, had been negotiating their $500 million contract with me for the past month. Of course, she knew me as Alex Morgan, my mother's maiden name, not Alexandra Sullivan, the family disappointment. The reunion was being held at my Uncle Peter's mansion in the Hamptons, a sprawling estate he never tired of showing off. As my Uber pulled up to the circular driveway, I could already see the usual parade of luxury cars, Bentleys, Masertis, the latest Tesla models. My Aunt Catherine stood at the entrance, greeting guests in her Chanel suit and perfect pearls. "Alexandra." Her surprise at seeing me was barely concealed behind her social smile. "We didn't think you'd make it. Still doing that? What was it again?" "Freelance work." I smiled, thinking of my corner office in the Morgan Technologies building 60 floors above Manhattan. "Something like that, Aunt Catherine." "Well," she patted my arm condescendingly, "at least you're here. Though." She glanced at my outfit with barely concealed disappointment. "Couldn't you have made more of an effort? The Wilsons are very important clients." If she only knew I'd close deals worth more than her house while wearing this same blazer. Inside, the mansion was exactly as I remembered, ostentatious wealth on display at every turn. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, priceless art pieces my uncle probably couldn't name. My cousins Madeline and James held court in the main living room, surrounded by their usual admirers. "Look who finally showed up," Madeline's voice carried across the room. "The prodigal cousin returns." I walked over, accepting the air kiss she offered. "Hello, Madeline." "James." "Still rocking the department store look, I see," James smirked, adjusting his Rolex. "Though I suppose on a consultant's salary." "Speaking of which," Madeline cut in, "did you hear about James's promotion? Senior VP at Sullivan Financial. Dad's grooming him to take over." Sullivan Financial, my uncle's pride and joy, the family business I'd turned down 5 years ago. The decision that had made me a pariah in their eyes. "That's wonderful," I said, thinking of the acquisition offer sitting on my desk. Morgan Technologies had been watching Sullivan Financial's declining market share with interest. "You could have been part of it," James couldn't resist adding. "But you had to go chase your dreams instead. How's that working out?" Before I could answer, my father appeared. Richard Sullivan, my uncle's younger brother and eternal second-in-command, looked older than I remembered. His hair had more gray, his shoulders slightly stooped. "Alexandra," he said stiffly. "Your mother was worried you wouldn't come." "Hi, Dad." I resisted the urge to hug him, knowing he'd just stiffen up. "How is Mom?" "Disappointed as usual." He sighed. "She had such hopes for you." "We all did." I thought about the Forbes article sitting on my desk, Morgan Technologies, how Alex Morgan built a billion-dollar empire. The one where they tried desperately to get a photo of the reclusive CEO, but had to settle for a silhouette shot. "I'm doing fine, Dad." "Fine." He shook his head. "Your cousin James is about to become the youngest senior VP in Sullivan Financial's history. Madeline's husband just made partner at his law firm. And what exactly are you doing these days?" "Consulting," I said simply. "Project management." "Right." His disappointment was palpable. "Well, try not to mention that when the Wilsons arrive. This deal is very important to the family." I bit back a smile, remembering my last video call with Amanda Wilson. We discussed Sullivan Financial's outdated technology, their resistance to digital transformation, their declining market position. They had no idea their potential savior was standing right in front of them. My mother found me next, her perfect makeup unable to hide her concern. "Darling, couldn't you have worn the dress I sent you? This is such an important day for the family." "The Chanel?" I asked innocently. "I donated it." She looked like she might faint. You what? That dress costs dash. Less than what I make in an hour, I said under my breath. What was that? Nothing, Mom. The dress wasn't my style. She pressed her lips together. Nothing ever is it? Not the job at Sullivan Financial, not the introductions to suitable young men, not the life we planned for you. No, I agreed. None of that was my style. The afternoon wore on, a parade of family achievements and thinly veiled digs at my life choices. My cousin Peter Jr. had just bought a yacht. My Aunt Elizabeth's daughter had gotten into Harvard Law. Everyone was succeeding in exactly the way the Sullivan family defined success. Poor Alexandra, I overheard my Aunt Patricia whisper to my mother. Still hasn't found her way. Such a shame, she had so much potential. My mother's response was quiet but clear. We tried everything. The best schools, the right connections. But she insisted on doing things her way. I checked my phone, seeing an email from my CFO about Sullivan Financial's latest quarter. Their numbers were worse than we'd thought. The global tech deal wasn't just important to them, it was vital. Put that phone away, my Uncle Peter's voice boomed behind me. The Wilsons will be here any minute. Try to look presentable. I slipped my phone into my pocket, watching my family transform into their most impressive selves. Uncle Peter straightened his tie, Madeline touched up her lipstick, James practiced his corporate smile. Remember, my father murmured to me, not a word about your career situation. Let James handle the business talk. I nodded, moving to stand near the back of the room. Through the large windows I could see several cars pulling up. Amanda Wilson stepped out of the first one, elegant in a navy suit I recognized from our last meeting. Places, everyone. Aunt Catherine chirped. Alexandra, maybe stand behind the pillar? We want to make the best impression. My Uncle Peter moved forward to greet the Wilsons, his charm turned up to maximum. Amanda. Charles. Welcome to our humble home. I watched as my family performed their well-rehearsed roles. James launched into a detailed explanation of Sullivan Financial's 5-year plan, the same plan Amanda and I had torn apart in our last meeting. Madeline showcased her perfect family photos. Uncle Peter bragged about the company's legacy. Such a successful family, I heard Amanda comment, her eyes scanning the room. Everyone involved in the business? Well, my Aunt Catherine laughed nervously, glancing in my direction. Almost everyone. Alexandra had different aspirations, my mother added diplomatically. Poor thing couldn't make it in the corporate world, Aunt Patricia whispered, not quite quietly enough. Some people just aren't cut out for success. I saw Amanda's posture shift slightly, her eyes narrowing as she surveyed the room. She hadn't spotted me yet, partially hidden behind a group of cousins. But she would. Actually, James jumped in smoothly, let me tell you about our latest digital initiative. We're really focusing on modernization. I suppressed a smile, knowing exactly what Amanda thought of their so-called modernization efforts. We discussed it just yesterday, planning how Morgan Technologies would revolutionize their outdated systems, after the acquisition, of course. And who's this? Amanda's voice suddenly cut through the chatter. She was looking directly at me, her professional mask hiding any recognition. My Uncle Peter quickly stepped forward. Oh, that's just Alexandra, my brother's daughter. She does some consulting work. Consulting. Amanda raised an eyebrow. This was it. The moment I'd been waiting for. I stepped forward, extending my hand. Hello, Mrs. Wilson. Nice to see you again. Amanda Wilson's professional mask cracked into a genuine smile. Alex. I didn't expect to see you here. The room went silent. My Uncle Peter's face froze mid-charm. James stopped his rehearsed pitch about digital transformation. Even Madeline's perfect smile faltered. You know each other? My father managed. Amanda looked puzzled. Of course. Alex and I have been in negotiations for weeks about the... She paused, noting my family's confused expressions. Wait, don't they know? Know what? Uncle Peter demanded. I stepped forward, smoothing my blazer. Perhaps I should explain. Amanda and I have indeed been discussing Sullivan Financial's future. Just not in the way you think. What is she talking about? James demanded. I'm handling the global tech negotiations. Amanda shook her head. No, I've been working directly with Alex Morgan, CEO of Morgan Technologies. We're in final discussions for a complete acquisition of Sullivan Financial. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Aunt Catherine grabbed the nearest chair for support. Uncle Peter's face turned an alarming shade of red. Morgan Technologies? He sputtered. But you can't be. Alex Morgan, I finished for him. Mother's maiden name, remember? The one you all thought was so beneath the mighty Sullivan legacy. The reclusive CEO? James whispered, his arrogance evaporating. The one Forbes called the most innovative leader in tech? The same. I turned to Amanda. I apologize for the dramatics. I thought it was time my family understood exactly what their failed daughter has been doing. My father stepped forward, his face ashen. Alexandra, you're worth more than Sullivan Financial's entire market cap? I supplied. Yes. Quite a bit more, actually. Madeline sank into the nearest chair. All those times we mocked your consulting work. I was actually consulting on acquisitions larger than Sullivan Financial could dream of, I finished. Building Morgan Technologies into what it is today. Though you were all too busy celebrating James's promotions to notice. Amanda cleared her throat. Should we discuss the terms now? The paperwork is ready. Terms. Uncle Peter's voice cracked. What terms? I pulled out my phone, opening the acquisition offer. Morgan Technologies is prepared to acquire Sullivan Financial for $2.4 billion. Full restructuring, complete modernization, digital transformation of all systems. But I'm supposed to take over, James protested weakly. Dad promised. James, I said gently, Sullivan Financial lost 40% of its market share last year. Your digital initiative is a decade behind the industry. Without this acquisition, you'll be bankrupt within 18 months. My mother found her voice. All this time, when we thought you were struggling, I was building something bigger than you could imagine, I said. Something that would have made grandfather proud, if any of you had bothered to see past your own expectations. Uncle Peter straightened his tie, his businessman instincts finally kicking in. Now, Alexandra, surely we can discuss this as family. Oh, now I'm family? I raised an eyebrow. Not just the disappointment to be hidden behind pillars. Amanda watched the exchange with professional interest. The board meets on Monday to approve the acquisition. Of course, as CEO, Alex has final say on the terms. My Aunt Catherine burst into tears. Peter, do something. She can't take the company. Actually, I can, I corrected her. And I will. But don't worry, I plan to keep some family members employed. Those who qualify, of course. James stepped forward, his earlier smugness replaced by desperate calculation. Cousin, surely we can work something out. I have experience. Running the company into the ground? I finished. Yes, I know. I've seen the numbers. But don't worry, Morgan Technologies has excellent entry-level positions. You can work your way up on merit this time. My father hadn't moved, still staring at me like he was seeing a stranger. Why didn't you tell us? Would you have believed me? I asked quietly. When have any of you ever believed I could succeed without the Sullivan name? The room erupted in chaos. Relatives who had spent years dismissing me suddenly remembered long-forgotten kindnesses. Cousins who had mocked my career choices now wanted to discuss opportunities. Through it all, Amanda stood calmly by my side, tablet ready with the acquisition documents. Shall we move this to the study? She suggested professionally. I nodded, then turned to my shell-shocked family. Uncle Peter. Dad, shall we discuss the future of Sullivan Financial? The real future, not the fantasy you've been clinging to. In Uncle Peter's wood-paneled study, away from the hysteria in the main room, reality began to sink in. I walked them through the acquisition terms, watching their faces as they realized exactly how much trouble the company was in, and how thoroughly I understood their business. You've been planning this, Uncle Peter accused, staring at the detailed analysis of Sullivan Financial's weaknesses. No, I corrected him. I've been succeeding. Your company's failure is your own doing. What about the Sullivan legacy? My father asked quietly. The Sullivan legacy of dismissing anyone who doesn't fit your narrow definition of success? I smiled. That ends today. Morgan Technologies will preserve what works and fix what doesn't. The Sullivan name will survive, just not in the way you planned. 3 months later, I sat in my corner office, reading the Wall Street Journal's coverage of the acquisition. Morgan Technologies CEO reveals identity. Alexandra Sullivan Morgan takes control of family empire. The article included a photo, this time me at my desk, the Manhattan skyline behind me, success written in every line of my posture. My phone buzzed with messages. Madeline, coffee sometime? I'd love to hear about potential positions. James, the entry-level orientation is enlightening. Mom, darling, we're so proud. We always believed in you. I deleted them all except one from my father. You proved us all wrong. I'm sorry we didn't see it sooner. My assistant knocked on the door. Miss Morgan? The Sullivan Financial Transition Team is here for the meeting. I stood up, straightening my blazer, the same one I'd worn to the reunion. Send them in. And Sarah? Make sure everyone has a copy of the new organizational chart. The one where James reports to the intern? She asked with a slight smile. That's the one. As I watched my cousins file into the conference room, now dressed in business casual instead of designer suits, I thought about success and failure, about family and legacy, about revenge served at room temperature with a side of quarterly reports. They had told everyone I failed in life. Now everyone knew exactly how wrong they were. My Uncle Peter was the last to enter, his proud shoulders finally bowed under the weight of reality. Alexandra. Ms. Morgan. Uncle Peter, I nodded professionally. Shall we discuss the future of Sullivan Financial? The real future this time. The mighty Sullivans, now employees of the daughter they dismissed. Sometimes success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right so spectacularly that they have no choice but to face their own failures. And as I began the presentation, clicking to the first slide showing Morgan Technologies' complete reorganization of Sullivan Financial, I couldn't help but think that sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your critics. It's becoming their boss.